Well, I'm here in quite a wild place on quite a wild day, and it's a fitting location for a pretty wild concept. Or at least it can seem pretty wild by Western standards. And that's the idea that maybe, just maybe, it's possible to call the qualities of consciousness of yoga techniques to you without even necessarily doing the technique, or certainly in such a way that they make the technique much more amazing and strong and beautiful than just simply the physical movements. So let's investigate this a little bit and see whether it might be possible for you to apply in your life. Because for sure, imagine being able to take the qualities of consciousness generated by, let's say, the different postures of yoga, and enable them to be present in any time of your day, in any aspect of your life. Now there you would have a toolbox of monumental proportions. So I want to explore whether it's possible to call the consciousness of a yoga technique to you in a way that completely changes your life. So let's assume that you have been practicing at least some yoga postures or techniques for quite some time and you've got quite familiar with them. Or maybe even you're a teacher and it's familiar to you, the idea that each technique has its own transformation to your inside state of consciousness. So some examples. Maybe you've done the tree and all of a sudden, for one reason or another, it's like the whole of the tree posture is just there with you, perhaps hardly before you've even started it. And maybe if you're teaching it to a class, you demonstrate it. And it's not like you're demonstrating a set of physical movements, but even before you start, somehow the tree posture is there with you, filling the whole presence of the room. And you feel like you're one with that indigenous elder gazing across the Rift Valley. You know how they stand, strong, tall, one leg firm to the ground, the other bent, foot against the leg, maybe holding a spear, gazing at the infinite nature of the cosmos. What a wonderful state to be in. What about the sun sequence? One of everybody's favorite yoga postures. If you've done it the Hatha way, you might have finished it feeling strong and bold and like a hero ready to move forward into your life. If you've done it the slow, deep, focused Dhruv way, you might have finished it with a sense of radiance, vitality and immunity around you so strongly that you know no possible discomfort or dis-ease could come at you from the outside or the inside. Different states of consciousness, different techniques. The earth sequence, still, quiet, the ultimate stress buster. The crane posture, one of my favorites. Maybe you've noticed inside it or after it, you feel, silent, still, yet completely ready for action. Just like a crane by the side of the lake, still, silent, but when that fish is there, ready to pounce. Imagine having that state of consciousness in a meeting at work when you really need to be ready to make the most of an opportunity and come up with an idea that just lands properly in the right way at the right time. That's what yoga does for us. It brings us these states of consciousness in such a way they're available at any time of our day. So, how is it possible to actually call these states of consciousness to you when you want that to happen, and not just as a result of some random mystical process? And here we discover that the science of yoga is so far beyond what we normally give it credit for. And that is that, yes, indeed, you can call the state of consciousness you associate with the yoga posture, sequence, or technique into your life right now. And how do you do it? Well, normally the thing we suggest, of course there's many ways to do this, but our normal suggestion is to build a friendship with that state of consciousness. And that might sound pretty weird. How can I build a friendship with a state of consciousness? But actually it's true. And it taps into one of the genius discoveries that we come back to over and over again of all of the indigenous traditions. And this is that we swim in a sea of consciousness. And the very qualities that make consciousness so rich and varied are almost like conscious presences themselves. For Western material standards, that's a really big, wild statement. But if you've walked into one of these experiences in a classroom as a teacher, as a student, or just in your own practice, maybe you can get the idea that it might not be, or at least it might be worth investigating. Certainly the indigenous elders of our planet would say, well, yes, what's the problem with that? Of course. So may the dancing eagle of life illuminate your journey in this. So I invite you to think of a posture that you really love and the consciousness that you think comes with it, and invite it to come as a dear, respected and honored friend. Someone that you would really love to have in your life, but when present, you would really honor, be grateful for their presence, and consider it someone that you would respect very greatly. I like to think of a grandfather who I really care about, or a grandmother who always gives such incisive wisdom, yet such embracive love. So that's what I do. I call with a lot of love. I maybe use the name of the posture, tree posture, come to me. Or I might use the Sanskrit name, Om Shri Vrikshasana Namaha. It's a big statement, that. A great mantra for calling the very essence of any yoga experience. I find this completely amazing field. And in this little exploration, we're barely touching the surface, because not only can you do this for yourself, if you're teaching a class or running a meeting or any sort of group gathering, you can do it for the group. And maybe you've been in a group where that kind of thing has happened, and suddenly everyone has come together in a shared experience which is utterly transcendent. And there you begin to harness the power of Vyan Vayu, the consciousness of connectedness and embracing all beings, all of yourself and all of the world around you. And if you're starting to do that, you're beginning to discover that yoga really means something. Yoga, it means union. When you touch this something, when you touch that union with this quality, you know that life is so very special, and it's waiting for you to give to it and become someone amazing in the experience of those around you. So I really wish you love and a lot of luck and a lot of incredible experiences in discovering that actually there's no luck in discovering your truth. It's just a matter of unfolding into who you really are.